Right, I'm not here. Well, I am here, but I'm not. So I'm still on my holiday. So yeah, I'm not officially in the workshop, but I am here. So while I'm here, I may as well do a little bit of filming and catch up with what's been going on. So as you know, I'm still on my annual leave. Just had a wonderful week away down, all the way down in Cornwall. Spent a night in a lovely spa last Friday. And then we've had a week all the way down in Mousehole, right down the far end, the far tip of the country. Had a lovely time. Weather was amazing. Drove back yesterday, which was Friday, and that was arguably the worst return home journey I've ever done. Usually takes me 5 hours to do it. I can do it in 5.5 with stops. It took us 9.5 hours to get home yesterday. There was accidents everywhere. It was just horrendous trying to get home. So yeah, just one of those travel days. Completely, I couldn't believe it. It was awful. Anyway, I'm home. What made it worse was that the aircon drain on my car was blocked, so the footwells were getting wet. The windows were steaming up. You couldn't clear it. It was awful. So yeah, just an awful end to the holiday. But I'm back. Reason I'm in today, because as you know, I'm not returning to work officially until Wednesday the 25th. Reason I'm in today is I've popped in just to do all the post and bits and pieces. I'm actually racing on Sunday, which is the day you'll be seeing this, up at Donington Park. So I come in to get the van loaded and ready and all that sort of thing. Get that ready. Racing on Sunday. I've got a load of boring meetings on Monday. Just really boring businessy meetings. You know, I've got one with the accountant. I've got one with my solicitor. Nothing exciting, just general bullshitty stuff. Excuse the language. And then on Tuesday, we're off to Pinewood Studios because we managed to get tickets to the filming of Taskmaster. So really looking for that. Looking forward to that. Been trying to get tickets for ages and ages. Finally won in the ballot to get tickets. So I didn't get Oasis tickets, but I did get Taskmaster tickets. So there you go. So we're going to be in the audience for that. We think it's going to be episode 9 of not the series that's on TV now, obviously, but the next series that will come out in the spring. So yeah, we've got to sign NDAs and all sorts. It's going to be really interesting. But yeah, that's what I'm doing, and that's why I'm not returning to work until Wednesday. But I've come in today. It's Saturday. And I've got some posts to unbox. So I've had one that's come through. And it says on the back, keep up the good work. Thanks, Dave. And inside, he's very kindly sent to me, clearly trying to get in my good books, is a very nice packet of coffee from the Malden Coffee Company, which I think are down. If it's Malden and Essex, that's where it will be. But it looks very good. It is beans. I'm a big coffee fan, as you know. If you want to get in my good books, you can always buy me coffee. So thank you, Dave. I don't know which Dave you are. There's no other note inside. So, but you know, if you're seeing this, thank you very much. I really, really appreciate that. Which is cool. Right. Big old box. I think this finally is the output transformer for the 66 black plate Fender Princeton Reverb. The one that we've been waiting on forever. Finally come through. Now, I don't know what's happened with this particular transformer company that I've used before. They've just been getting slower and slower. I mean, I know they're incredibly busy, so that's probably that. But the amount of time I've waited for a simple 12-watt output transformer rewind is quite funny. Funny, concerning, funny. I don't know. But at least they wrap it up well. And the funny thing is, I emailed them and said, don't send the, if you've done the work, if it's done and completed, I am away, don't send it until I get back. So of course, what do? They send it whilst I'm away. And there it is then. Replacement output transformer for the Princeton Reverb. Now the customer didn't want the paper bobbin, he wanted the modern bobbin, so that's what they've gone for. Saved him quite a bit of money on that, but it's going to be a very, very toneful, great sounding unit. Just a single 8 ohm output. And simple as that. So we can get that installed in the amplifier, fired up, tested, and back to ATB. I know it's not Q&A video, but I had two great questions that came in, and I thought, why not? Let's do them today rather than make you wait until next week. The first one is from Ross Duncan, who says, "Hi Chris, hope you're good. What do you think of tag strip layout versus a board, whether that's a high-lit or turret board? I've just built an amp using tag strip. It took a load of time to build, but now it's done. It is super quiet and easy to tinker with. Love the channel, Ross." Thanks, Ross. Thanks for getting in touch. Great question. I have no problem with tag strip. It's just not my preferred way of working. There are some classic tag strip amp builders. Martin Kidd, for example, high watt amps will tag strip, and you do see them. You do see them every now and again, and it's a perfectly valid way of constructing an amplifier. It's just a different way. As you said, it is more labour intensive, but there are some benefits to it, in that there are obviously. The main one would be there's no underboard connections that are blind, so you can't see them. Everything can be seen and is visible. And it does make servicing them or working on them quite easy, because you can trace things, although the layouts don't often follow conventional wisdom. So what you might save in time in one end, you lose in another. So it's, swings and roundabouts, half a dozen of one, half a dozen of the other. Pick your phrase, absolutely fine. But if you've built an amp in tag strip and it's ended up being super quiet, good for you. That's amazing. Yeah, I just prefer the board stuff. It's the way my brain works. It's the way I like to work. It makes more sense to me, especially when I'm doing designing in a chassis layouts and things. It's just the way I think and process, and that's my workflow. So, but yeah, they're great. Okay, Croc2434 asks the question, what is the purpose of a choke? And you will have all seen me use the word choke before, and you may have even seen one on the channel. And this is a choke, and it looks like a transformer. It looks like a small output transformer. What are they for? What do they do? What is the purpose of a choke? And, well, let's have a look at what one is. It's that they are constructed and manufactured very similar to a transformer. Here's an output transformer here. Here's a choke. You can see this is a 15-watt output transformer, and this is a choke for like a classic black plate Fender amplifier. Okay. The Fender part number for this choke, if you're interested, is 125C1A. You can look that up. It's a 5 Henry choke. Anyway, what does it do? Well, in the high voltage supply of an amplifier, you've got lots of capacitors, and they're all separated by resistors. And at each of those capacitors will be where you take your high voltage off to different parts of the circuit. At the very start of that B plus rail usually is the output valves. The output transformer gets its high voltage supply there. The screens of the output valves get the supply, usually the next filter down. Then you go phase inverter and then the preamp. And that's generally how we do those B plus rails. And where you have a resistor and then a capacitor to ground, we call that an RC filter. And they're brilliant. They're stable, generally stable. They work really well. They're dependable. They don't go wrong. It's just a very simple way of dropping voltage and smoothing at the same time. Because we always want the cleanest DC that we can achieve. Cleaner the DC, the lower noise it is. But there is one part in that B plus rail where the designer might choose to replace one of those resistors with a choke. And that, in most guitar amplifiers now, will be between the filter capacitor that supplies the output transformer and the one next door to it that supplies the screens for the output valves. So rather than having a resistor separating those two, you might have a choke. Why would you do that? Why would you not have a resistor? Well, an RC filter is very good. It's very stable where you've got a low current demand. So throughout operation, whether it's at idle or at full crank, the current demand, the current requirement remains relatively stable. But in the output valves, the current demand can have huge swings. It can swing one way or the other. You can get a big demand for power very quickly. And we've all heard terms like sag and bloom and compression and things like that, and especially in the output stage. A choke is very good at dealing with those huge current demands, but keeping the voltage stable. So usually when current increases, voltage decreases. So you have a huge demand for current and the voltage will drop as a result. If you're putting more load on something, it's going to strain and struggle more. Well, a choke can handle that amazingly well. You can, especially when you're overdriving an amplifier and let's say, for example, you play a big power chord, you get a huge demand for power instantly. The voltage will get to remain stable, but the choke can still supply the current or allow the current to flow through it relatively easily. And so for certain amplifier styles where you want that immediate attack and transient response, that sort of thing, chokes are generally a good idea. Whereas a resistor isn't, because it struggles. Now, just because it struggles doesn't mean it sounds bad. And this is the difference between hi-fi and lo-fi. Because guitar amplifiers are low fidelity devices, in that we as players, we might actually want that sag and then delayed bloom and a little bit of compression, a little bit of response going on. That might actually be a desirable feature of the amplifier that we're playing, which is why I suspect, or which is why you will sometimes find in amplifiers, big power amplifiers like the RK100 and the RK50 that I'm building, the designer deliberately chose to not have a choke because he wanted the output stage to sag slightly when you get that when you get a demand for a big chord. So they're also very good at filtering hum, ripple, noise, because they are high impedance for DC. No, sorry, they're low impedance for DC. But it's also high impedance for hum, ripple and noise. That's what I'm trying to say. So essentially it's a. I mean, if you're asking me the question, why would you use a choke? Well, you'd use one if you want a really stable high voltage supply. But if you want something that's a bit more responsive and a bit less efficient and gives something a bit more back to the player, or a player who wants that, then you might choose to not use one. Does that make sense? I know this channel, I say all the time, this isn't a tech channel, so I'm trying really hard to keep this simple. But I'm going on for 7 minutes now. Hopefully you haven't all switched off. Right, that's it. Thanks for watching. I will catch you all. I will get a video out on Wednesday. I don't know what time it will be. It might be later on in the evening. But I will try and get something out. As always, please give this video a thumbs up, comments and questions down below, join the channel, subscribe, etc, 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 and I will catch you all at the next one.